Hello, everyone. Welcome to our humble podcast, Legal Tech Light. I am Tammy French, Head of Strategic Partnerships for Mosaic. With me today, as usual, I have my sidekick, Michelle Hamilton, our Managed Services Head, Division Head. As if Managed Services had its own separate head. Okay, anyway. And I have Adam Compton, who is one of our legal system administrators and works closely with a lot of our clients. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Today, Adam is going to talk with us about common legal department pain points and possible solutions and benefits.
Yeah, and this is a really good topic because, in light of COVID and stuff, I think that with everybody working from home so much, we've also gotten a bit more insight into pain points from our company users. And because Adam works so closely with several of our clients, I thought this would be a great topic for him to jump in on.
I agree.
Yes. So if you want to introduce yourself really fast, you can, because our viewers want to know who you are.
Sure. Wonderful. Well, as you've stated, my name is Adam Compton. I'm a legal systems administrator here. I work under Michelle on the managed services team, and I deal with our clients on a day-to-day basis. We take care of a lot of administrative issues that are going on, do a little bit of billing and guideline review work, and just make sure that things are running smoothly and everybody stays happy.
That's a pretty good overview of his day-to-day, I think.
I think so as well.
So what are some of the common legal pain points that are happening right now, whether it be, we've experienced these before COVID and we're still experiencing, or it's just something that has really become prominent during COVID?
Well, a lot of the times, especially towards the end of the month, our clients suffer with a lack of bandwidth. Maybe they need to do some reporting, they don't have the time or the knowledge to do that. Something comes up where there's an issue with billing and we need to communicate with the firms, make sure that everybody's on the same page. An invoice has been disputed and we can't figure out why. There might be a system misconfiguration where, like for the other day, for example, I saw a timekeeper rate get reduced. This is a flat fee timekeeper. It was supposed to be $3,000, and it got reduced down to $320 automatically by the platform that our client was using. And of course, the firm was very, very concerned. This is $2,680 that they're missing.
Right.
So we have to track those down and kind of figure out what's going on there. But really what we do is just provide support and make sure that at the end of the day, everything is working the way that it should.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did you go about solving that? Or is it still a work in progress?
It's still a work in progress. I actually had to reach out to the software support because this firm in particular had submitted, I think, 18 or 19 invoices the exact same way, using the same timekeeper, same coding. Everything was perfect, and it should have been just fine.
Interesting.
But we ran reports and went through and figured out, okay, which matters does this firm have that's used this timekeeper before? We looked at the timekeeper rate sheets to ensure that they were properly submitted, went into the settings, checked off the rules, looked at the histories for the settings to make sure that nothing had been changed recently. And, we tracked this down, took about an hour and a half to exhaust every single avenue that we possibly could. And we still couldn't come up with it. But if you don't know something, we'll go and we'll find the answer.
Right. That's a really good point. And super kudos to you for doing that due diligence, because that's a lot of work to put into it, but that's what we're here for. We are trying to be that middle person, so that way if it's an issue on the firm side, we can help without having to get our client involved. And if it's an issue on the client side, whether it be with the system or the firm, we can be that middle person, that middle that's what I almost said. That middle person to be the kind of go-between. That way we don't have to involve people who don't really need to be involved because they're doing something else, and it's something that we can, handle.
And to Adam's point, and to go full circle, that's the point, right? Bandwidth. Now you have somebody who has a legal ops job or a paralegal job or something else they're trying to do on top of their system administration work. that hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours to try and track something down like that is taking them away from really important tasks that could be making the firm money or making the client money, or and that's the point, right, Adam? Like, that lack of bandwidth, that you need somebody to help with that sometimes.
Absolutely, and it also comes down to maintaining the relationship between the company, legal department, and the law firm, because most of these large companies have their preferred vendors that they're working with all the time, and when you have that amount of friction and that frustration that comes from having issues with your system, whether it's a setting that's not configured correctly, or if in your leads file there's just one erroneous character, and being able to track that down and just communicate with the law firm, hey, we hear you, we understand that this is a problem, we're working on it, I'll let you know as soon as I have an answer for you, and getting it resolved really kind of helps strengthen that relationship and keep it strong, so that as they're being billed out for more work in the future, they're happy. And it's really about helping ease frustrations, solve problems, and just keep headaches from happening.
Well, and to that point, because this is something that, Mosaic it's like one of our, standing principles. We really want to foster the relationships between our clients and their firms. We know how important that relationship is. And so Adam just hit the nail on the head with that, because we talk about that all the time. How can we help foster the relationship? And, sometimes, specifically in the case that you're talking about with those invoices, that would be a huge problem, and I can see the firm side getting very frustrated. And if they just went straight to the company and the company doesn't know how to help or doesn't have the time or the resources to help, then they're frustrated too. So I just think that it was awesome that you were able to spend that time helping that, and you're still working on it. That's great. I can't wait to find out what the resolution is going to be. Sometimes we have to reach out to our support people too, and so we also have to have our resources. So it's just, fostering those relationships, making sure that everybody can be in communication with who they need to be to get the job done, that's really important.
So I noticed in there, Adam did touch on system configuration issues. So I realized that that's another point that he wants to make. So do you want to talk a little bit about that, Adam? AFAs, budgets, accruals, things like that?
Sure.
System
absolutely.
configuration issues?
So in most matter management platforms, there are a slew of settings, and different companies, depending on what they do, need different settings and modules turned on, but they don't always necessarily utilize them to their fullest capabilities, or they're trying to use them as kind of a workaround to a bigger issue with their processes.
Yeah, because sometimes they don't understand the full functionality. They don't understand what, for instance, I have a call coming up with a client who wants more information on the budgeting functionality in the matter management platform they use. And I said, okay, that's great, because we can also talk to her then about other functionalities that she's using that they could use better, because there have been improvements to it. So, because we're talking about budgeting, those functionalities, I just think that's a really important piece to make sure we are, providing that information.
Absolutely. And, I've seen instances where people have their budgets turned on, and they just don't, at the matter level, require that their law firms submit budgets. And so sometimes you'll have, a budget of $500,000 for a matter, and it'll be completely ignored. The flagging's not on for it. There's no requirement. There's no oversight. They turned it on kind of just to have it on.
But
and then before you know it,
it.
there's $700,000, $800,000 billed on the matter, and nothing's being done about it. Nobody's catching it. So it's really important to just kind of understand what the underlying reason is for turning something on.
And the repercussions of it as well, because there are good consequences, but there are also bad consequences to certain functionalities as well,
Absolutely.
Depending on, and this is something else we talk about a lot, which is knowing your client, knowing what their needs are, knowing what they're going to want before they even know what they're going to want. So another really good point.
True, anticipation is key. And coming back to the invoicing component, there are some rules that you can enable where you're not able to invoice in a time frame that spans months or spans fiscal years. But then when you turn that on as an automatic rejection reason, you have firms that you have a standing, they'll bill you for 1 year for some sort of service, whether that's another support platform like a Rabo or an Aqua or anything like that. And then those invoices get kicked back automatically, and they're for hundreds of thousands of dollars, and they can't figure out, well, what's going on. So that's kind of where we come in and explain, we have to understand the reasoning behind this. We also have to anticipate the consequences, like you said, because some things can go sideways, and you need to be able to just anticipate before that happens.
Exactly.
And make sure that everything is set up in the right way.
Well, right, and letting your client know, hey, this is the good consequence of this, but this could be a bad consequence if we don't set this up properly. So we need to know ahead of time, are there going to be any firms that are going to have an exception to this? Are there going to be any matters that are going to have an exception to this? So speaking on my client that's going to have this budget call coming up, she recently reached out to me and said, I need some reports about the budgets and, a bunch of things that she asked for. So I provided her all of that information, and she said, I think I need some more information. I think that this isn't right. And so we got on the phone together and I walked her through all of it. It ended up being right, but because she didn't understand the full functionality, there was confusion there. So then when we got on the phone again a few days later to set up our next call, which I'm going to bring somebody else on with me, she really was grateful that I had taken the time to explain the additional things. And, she also said, because they make sure that they take a specific practice group out of every single one of their reports and things, because that's paid a different way. And she said, please tell me this isn't going to mess with any of my IP. And I said, of course it's not. We're not turning anything on for IP. And she said, okay. So knowing your clients, knowing what they're going to want before they want it, and really explaining inside and out the functionality, all really good points.
Excellent. I think that you made a great point there as well with when you got asked for that second follow-up call after this, you're bringing somebody else in.
Yeah, because, I have my knowledge about it, but my team member, she has more knowledge, and I want to make sure that I provide my client with the absolute perfect person to talk to. And when I was speaking to Hannah, who everybody has been able to see on previous podcasts, she said, oh, I have some great suggestions for this too. And I said, that's going to be amazing. My client's going to be so happy. And when she responded last night, she said, I am so thrilled. I can't wait to get on the phone with you both. So it's going in the right direction. And of course, that makes everybody happy.
Right. It just comes down to teamwork and being able to have the understanding that, somebody has strengths that you may not be as good at, and vice versa. I mean,
Absolutely.
You just have to put the right people in the right place.
I am all for that.
Having a team, and especially for some of our clients, having us on their team, we can fill in the gaps that need to be filled, no matter what it is. Even if I don't know something, I know somebody who does.
That's absolutely right. Or if I don't know something, I'm going to find out the answer for you. I don't care if it's going to take me 3 hours. I'll find somebody who has the answer, because I want to make sure that I provide them the accurate data the first time.
Absolutely. High touch.
Yeah. I don't want to go back and forth to them and say, oh, I made a mistake. But obviously, everybody, human error is the thing. So I've had to fall on my sword a few times, but I've learned from it. So that's also good.
Right.
Right. So I don't want to run out of time before we talk about his other points, because I think they're really, really important. And one of them that Adam wanted to touch on also was the underuse of your matter management software. And I think that's really important. So I would love for you to touch on that, Adam, if you don't mind.
Sure, absolutely. So in your matter management software, everybody has some sort of template system. Those templates are going to tell you what information needs to be collected about specific kinds of matters. And too often I see that, there are only a couple of required fields, and those are the only fields that get used in those matters, where, you may have a litigation case that has been settled, and it's just settled, in progress, not settled. But even after they settle them, we're not closing out matters. We're not filling in what the settlement information was. We're not filling in key dates and places. There's no use of status reports or anything so that you can kind of track what's going on with your case. And not having that pertinent data is keeping you from figuring out, okay, what are the outcomes of this case? We can figure out financially, oh, we spent this much money on this matter, and it was this much time from open to close. We don't know anything else. So when you have all of that information that's not being captured, you're really kind of shooting yourself in the foot if you want to do like law firm scorecarding, for example. If you want to figure out who's the best firm for this kind of matter based on cases that they've done for us, you have to figure out what those outcomes are. And not having the data to be able to report on that and give yourself a good picture is really something that a lot of people are missing out on. And that's something that we're kind of striving to talk to our clients about and try to change so that we can help with all these metrics and just kind of help make informed decisions using the data.
Yeah, I think that was really well said. I think that's a very good point. I mean, we talk about closing matters often, but you know, a lot of times our clients will say, we need this list of matters closed, and we'll respond and say, okay, please provide me these data points because these are the required data points. And I have had several clients just say, please put in dummy data.
Yep.
And, you know, so closed by Michelle Hamilton per John Smith or whoever, and then on this date. And while I respect my clients and I do that, I do also caution them that they're not getting good data in there, but it is ultimately their decision what data does go in there. But that is a really good point, because how can you score your firms like that and make sure that you've got the right firm on the right matter if you don't know how their similar cases resolved?
Right, and that all goes back to, you know, the previous point where it's just underutilization of the software. Because really, if you're only using a matter management platform for billing,
process billing,
you're kind of selling yourself short, and you're definitely paying the full fee. So if the only reason that you're closing your matters is so that firms can't continue to bill to those matters, you're just not doing it right.
That's absolutely right.
That's what we're here to help with.
Yeah, I definitely agree about that. And I have really just one other question for you, but I want to make sure Tammy didn't have any other points that she wanted to bring up. Tammy?
Not on that. I'm just looking at his last point, and so I'm sure you all get to that. So,
well, that's where I was headed. Yeah. So, what are any unknown benefits that we provide that maybe our clients or their firms don't know that we provide?
Okay. Well, I can give you an example from very recently. I was doing billing and guideline review for one of our major clients. They run a lot of intellectual property matters, and they use a very limited number of firms. There's probably 5 major players, and then we have some one-off invoices here and there. But one of these firms was not submitting their invoices properly. We would give them the dispute comment when we disputed it back to them, and they could not figure out how to make the changes that were necessary. So we've had the invoice submitted. It's taken a day or two to review it. We've disputed it. It takes them a day or two to actually get back to that. It's not right. We have to dispute it again. At that point, we're getting on the phone. Right. So I had a very, very productive call with a law firm user, and this was the person who was actually entering the bills, who's seeing dispute comments. And you know, I started off with just letting her know, I understand your frustration. I'm really, really sorry for this. I just want to show you what this looks like from our side. And the platform that she was working on has a sandbox environment. So I went in and I showed her from the company side what her invoices look like, what we see. And then I went in from the firm side and I gave her just a walkthrough, and I showed her with, you know, dummy data, no like sensitive client information, how you can move this invoice to the correct matter, where you would update the matter description to comply with these rules, how you can change the billing period. And at the end of the call, she was just elated that we had taken the time, that we had tried to once again strengthen that relationship, because she went from being frustrated and annoyed with, oh, this guy on the other end keeps turning down my invoices, this is never going to get done, this is taking me so much time, to having a face-to-face over Teams and having somebody who actually cares and is here to make sure that your life is as easy as possible, and to also explain, you know, this is where we're coming from, I understand where you're coming from, let's meet in the middle and let's get this done the right way.
Well, and I love that because now she knows how that client expects their invoices to be submitted, and I bet that you're not going to have any more errors in your invoices.
And you know, I also gave her my information and just told her, hey, if you have any questions at any time, if you're coming up with any problems, let me know.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
now we have a standing relationship, and she feels comfortable with me, and she can come back and say, hey, what's going on, Adam? How's your day going? Just wanted to check in. I'm having this issue. Can you help? And I'll say, yes, of course. Let me give you a call real quick, and I'll walk you through.
Yeah.
And that's going to ultimately make them happy. And when they get more work with that particular client, they know that they have a resource who's right here to help them, and smiles all around.
That's absolutely right. And I just appreciate you again reaching out and being that very compassionate person, because I know we talked about this issue yesterday when you had to, we talked about it because you're like, I have to dispute these invoices and this is the reason. And I said, okay, well, I'm sure that there will be some frustration because there were a lot of them. And I said, let's get on the phone with her and talk about it if she's available for that. And I said, she's experiencing pain points, they're experiencing pain points. Let's fix this and let's get it done, and then everybody will be happy. And that's exactly what the outcome was.
Right. Man in the middle. Just have to be nice and treat people like people. And that's what it really comes down to, is, not being a robot. You have to actually talk to people, take the time to understand, especially with COVID and everybody having been cooped up in their houses for forever. The frustrations are running high right now. There's a lot of tension, but just adding the human element to it is really important.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And, I think that it's also a really important piece that you just said, is that you talk to her as a person. And I think that that's, you took the time out of your schedule to do that. And she probably thought, I didn't think that there was going to be any resolution anytime soon, but I'm just really, really happy that that was able to go the way it did.
Me too.
So, well,
fantastic.
Do you have any last thoughts or comments that you want to share before?
Hi, Mom.
Oh, how funny. Before our part 2, because I do believe that we're going to, end up elaborating on this topic, because there is so much to it. Firm side, client side, there's a lot there. So I think that there will definitely be a part 2, maybe part 3, maybe we'll go part 25. Who knows?
We'll just make it a series.
Who knows?
Well, I'm looking forward to the next there, and thank you so much for taking the time today.
Well, I really appreciate you, and I know Tammy does too.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize ahead of time if anybody heard my dog snoring in the background. I know that it was quite loud there for a moment. And so I kept looking over trying to silence her.
That's funny.
It's all right. That's part of the work from home.
Just in case anybody has questions about my background, this is from a band called Pepper. So it was my attempt at a Halloween sort of background for this time of year, but at any rate. If you have any questions for Adam, you can always reach us, support@mosaiclegalops.com, or on the website, and we'll make sure those links are in the podcast description. So thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you.